What's up, everyone? How are you all? Today we are back with another Bridging Naruto What If. What if Naruto unlocked the Rinnegan wave? If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share, and do comment.
The night the beast screamed, the sky over Konoha turned the color of old blood. Claws tore through stone. Fire swallowed homes. Shinobi, men and women who had sworn to endure, threw themselves into the path of destruction knowing they would not return. When dawn finally crawled over the ruins, the Nine Tails was gone, and so was the fourth Hokage. Victory had come at a cost the village would never fully repay. 5 years passed. Konoha rebuilt its walls. Streets were repaved. Laughter slowly returned. But grief did not leave. It learned how to hide behind doors and polite smiles. The third Hokage sat once more beneath the heavy hat, guiding a village that still flinched at old memories. And one child carried those memories without knowing why. The market bustled with noise and color, vendors shouting prices, civilians bartering loudly. In the middle of it all stood a small blond boy, barely tall enough to see over the counters. His eyes were drawn to a fox-shaped mask hanging from a string, painted red, smiling sharply. For a moment, wonder pushed aside hunger. The shopkeeper noticed him. The air shifted. Ow! The man snapped, rage spilling far too fast. Get out of my shop. Before the boy could speak, rough hands shoved him backward. He stumbled, hit the dirt, and the mask clattered after him. It skidded across the ground and stopped at his knees. Take it and go, the man barked, voice shaking with something uglier than anger. And don't come back. The boy picked up the mask with trembling fingers. Around him, whispers bloomed like rot. That kid again. Why does he even exist? They should have dealt with him back then. Each word landed heavier than the last. Tears blurred his vision, but he didn't wipe them away. He ran, past the market, past the stairs, past a village that recoiled from his shadow. He didn't know what he was guilty of. He only knew where to go when the pain became too loud. The Hokage tower doors slammed open. Imbu moved, but stopped when they saw who it was. The boy burst into the office, chest heaving, tears streaking down his face. He didn't bow. He didn't wait. Why do they hate me? His voice cracked, small fists clenched at his sides. Why do they call me that? What did I do? The third Hokage stared at him for a long moment. He saw the bruises no one meant to leave, the loneliness no jutsu could erase, and a question he had been dreading for 5 years. The old man's pipe lay forgotten on the desk. Naruto, he said softly. That name alone nearly broke the child. The Hokage chose his words carefully, like stepping across thin ice. Some truths, he said, are too heavy for young shoulders. Not because you're weak, but because the world is cruel. Naruto shook his head furiously. I don't care. Just tell me something. Anything. Do I have parents? Silence. At last, the Hokage nodded. Yes. Naruto's breath hitched. They were shinobi, the old man continued. Strong ones. Respected. Feared by enemies. Loved by this village, even if some have forgotten how to show it. Are they alive? Naruto whispered. No. The word fell like a stone. They died protecting Konoha, the Hokage said. Protecting you. Naruto's hands trembled, but he didn't cry this time. Did they hate me? The Hokage stood, walked around the desk, and knelt before him. They loved you before you ever opened your eyes. Your mother dreamed of holding your hand. Your father believed you would surpass him. Something ignited behind Naruto's tears. I'll do it, he said suddenly. I'll become strong. Strong enough that nobody can ignore me. Strong enough that they'll have to look at me. The Hokage smiled sadly. That fire inside you, it's dangerous, Naruto. It can warm a village, or burn it down. I won't let it burn, Naruto said. I'll protect everyone. I'll become Hokage. A bold dream from a broken child. The Hokage placed a bundle of scrolls into his arms. Then start learning. Knowledge is the first weapon. Read these. Understand chakra. Understand history. When you come back, we'll see what kind of path you're carving. Naruto hugged the scrolls to his chest like treasure. At the door, he paused. Old man, when will you tell me everything? The Hokage looked out the window, toward the stone faces watching over the village. When you're strong enough to survive the truth. Naruto nodded and left. That night, alone in his small apartment, Naruto unrolled the first scroll. As candlelight flickered, something deep inside him stirred. Far below his heartbeat, behind a sealed door he could not see, something smiled. Time did not soften Naruto Uzumaki. It sharpened him. At 6 years old, he lived alone in a narrow apartment that smelled faintly of ink, old paper, and instant ramen. The orphanage doors had closed behind him without ceremony, as if removing him was a chore finally completed. The third Hokage's allowance kept him alive, but only barely. Pride pushed Naruto to do more. Paperwork, errands, sorting reports late into the night inside the Hokage tower. While other children played, Naruto read. He devoured history, wars, betrayals, alliances. He learned how villages rose and how they rotted from the inside. He studied chakra theory until diagrams of coils and pathways haunted his dreams. Fuinjutsu fascinated him most. Symbols that bent reality, seals that could cage monsters or protect worlds. Sage arts intrigued him too, though every book ended the same way. Not yet. His body changed with his routine. Dawn runs, push-ups until his arms shook, balance drills until his legs burned. Baby fat melted away, replaced by wiry muscle and stubborn endurance. And sometimes, just sometimes, he laughed. Mostly when pranking the Hokage. Orange dye-soaked ceremonial robes. Ink seals vanished without a trace. Ambiyu learned, painfully, that this child noticed everything. The old man scolded him with tired eyes and hidden pride. Still, Naruto had never truly trained. Until today, the moment he felt chakra answer him, something clicked. Not exploded, aligned. Hours of failure collapsed into clarity. Chakra flowed, not wild, not hesitant, vast. Naruto didn't understand the scale of it. He only knew it felt right. He didn't walk to the Hokage tower. He ran. Old man. The door burst open, Naruto skidding across the floor, laughter bubbling out of him uncontrollably. I did it. I really did it. The third Hokage looked up slowly, pipe pausing midair. You learned chakra molding. Naruto nodded furiously. Too fast, the Hokage thought. Far too fast. Show me, the old man said carefully. Release your chakra. Slowly. Naruto sat, focused, and released. The air buckled. Walls groaned. The floor vibrated. Hidden Ambiyu revealed themselves instinctively, hands already moving toward weapons. Chakra pressure flooded the room. Dense, overwhelming, ancient in its wrongness. Windows shattered. Cracks raced across the ceiling like spiderwebs. The Hokage's breath caught. This isn't normal. This isn't even exceptional. This is dangerous. Stop, he commanded. Naruto, stop, now. The pressure vanished instantly. Naruto blinked, grinning. So? Was it good? No one answered him. Yimbiyu stared as if they were looking at a sealed weapon learning to breathe. Yes, the Hokage finally said. It was good. Too good. He handed Naruto a new set of scrolls. Academy techniques. Fundamentals. Taijutsu forms. Train at ground 13. Finish these. Then we talk again. Naruto left, humming happily. Behind him, the Hokage sank into his chair. Jonin-level reserves, he thought grimly. At 6 months later, Naruto rewrote fundamentals without realizing it. Leaf exercise? Too static. He ran while maintaining adhesion. Dozens of leaves plastered across his body, never slipping. Tree walking? Too limited. He sat, rested, nearly slept upside down against bark, chakra steady for over an hour. Academy techniques came easily, except one. Clone jutsu failed every time. No matter how perfect his control became, it refused him. But his transformation? Solid. Real. It fooled hands, not eyes. That disturbed him. The Uchiha compound was quiet when Naruto wandered through it. Too quiet for a place filled with power. That's when he saw the boy. Dark hair, sharp eyes, fire blooming weakly from his lips, collapsing before it could form properly. Naruto stepped closer. Hey, the boy snapped, spinning around. Who are you? Why are you so rude? Naruto shot back. Silence stretched. Then, hesitation. Sorry, the raven-haired boy muttered. I shouldn't have yelled. Naruto studied him for a moment, then grinned. Friends. A pause. A nod. Naruto Uzumaki. Future Hokage. Sasuke Uchiha. The name carried weight. Naruto felt it. Sasuke spoke of his brother. A shadow too large. Expectations too heavy. Naruto listened and understood more than he let on. Don't chase someone else's footsteps, Naruto said quietly. Make your own. Sasuke stared at him, surprised. They trained together until dusk. Talked. Laughed. For the first time in years, Naruto walked home with warmth in his chest instead of cold. That night, alone again, Naruto tried the clone jutsu once more. Nothing. But deep inside him, something stirred. A pulse. A presence. And far beneath his apartment, behind seals older than memory, a massive eye opened, and watched the boy grow stronger. 2 years later, by the time Naruto Uzumaki turned 8, Konoha had already misjudged him more times than it could count. Training with Sasuke had become routine. Training with Itachi had become refinement. Kunai no longer left Naruto's hand without purpose. Shuriken curved when he wanted them to, guided by subtle wind manipulation Sasuke couldn't see but could feel. Sasuke, in turn, burned hotter, fire jutsu no longer sputtering, but roaring to life with controlled intensity. Their sparring sessions left scorch marks and shallow trenches across forgotten training grounds. And watching them all was Itachi. Silent, precise, unforgiving. Under his gaze, both boys learned to recognize illusion by instinct rather than sight. Naruto learned something unsettling during those sessions. His solid transformation technique didn't fool the Sharingan. It overrode it. Itachi never said it aloud, but his eyes lingered longer every time Naruto used it. Sometimes, another presence joined them. Shursui. Where Itachi was cold water, Shursui was moving air, easy smile, terrifying skill. His Jinjutsu didn't announce itself. It simply was. Naruto failed against it more times than he could count. Sasuke failed even more. But both of them improved. Too fast. They trained on trees until standing sideways felt natural. On water until ripples became irrelevant. They fought while balancing. They sparred while suppressing chakra. They even tried sleeping on vertical surfaces, usually waking up on the ground with bruises and laughter. They knew it. They were already beyond Genin. Naruto understood something else too. Power attracted attention, and attention was dangerous. If he wanted to stay beside Sasuke, if he wanted the village to underestimate him, he had to fall behind. The academy. The classroom smelled like chalk and anticipation. Naruto stepped inside casually, hands behind his head, eyes half-lidded, playing the fool. Sasuke sat near the center, already surrounded. Naruto noted the arrangement instantly. Politics, he thought. Hierarchy forms fast. He scanned the room. Dog boy first, loud, aggressive, confident. Kiba Inuzuka. His chakra signature was messy but sharp, wrapped tightly around the small, warm presence hidden in his jacket. Naruto cataloged heightened senses, impulsive behavior, and obvious pride issues. Aburame Shino sat alone, silent. Bugs lived inside him. Naruto felt them before he understood them. Efficient, patient, dangerous in drawn-out engagements. Then, Shikamaru Nara. Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly. This one's trouble. Lazy posture. Dead eyes. But his mind was moving constantly. Every piece on the board already counted. Naruto marked him as someone never to underestimate. Choji Ikimichi followed. Gentle chakra. Vast reserves compressed into flesh. Emotional trigger points obvious. Strength rooted in loyalty. Naruto smiled faintly. Interesting class. He dropped into a seat near the back. Perfect place to disappear. The instructor entered. Lessons began. Naruto failed on purpose. Missed questions. Sloppy handwriting. Half-hearted answers. Just enough to be noticed for incompetence, not concern. He felt Sasuke's confusion from across the room. But Sasuke said nothing. Good. When it came time for basic chakra theory, Naruto answered incorrectly, almost convincingly. Shikamaru glanced at him. Once. That was all. Naruto felt it. He noticed. At break, whispers followed him like shadows. That kid's weird. He doesn't try at all. He looks kinda stupid. Naruto grinned loudly, stretching, leaning into the image. Only Sasuke knew better. Only Sasuke saw the way Naruto's eyes tracked everyone at once. Later that day, during a simple demonstration, transformation technique, Naruto hesitated. Too long. The room laughed. He transformed badly. Uneven. Colors wrong. Iruka frowned but moved on. No one noticed that Naruto could have done it perfectly. No one except Shursui, watching through the window, and Itachi, standing on a rooftop across the street. That night, Naruto lay on his apartment floor, staring at the ceiling. Dead last, he thought. Just like planned. But deep inside him, something twisted, unhappy with restraint. A pressure coiled, waiting. And somewhere far beneath the village, behind seals older than the academy, older than Konoha itself, the Ninetales opened one massive eye and smiled. Hinata Hyuga rarely spoke unless spoken to, and even then, her voice barely carried past her own heartbeat. Naruto noticed her because she noticed him. Not with fear, not with disgust, just quiet attention. Lavender eyes flickered away whenever he caught them, her cheeks tinting pink as if embarrassed by her own curiosity. She trained hard, listened harder, and never once laughed when Naruto played the fool in class. That alone placed her apart from most of the room. Naruto knew the Hyuga reputation. He had read enough history to understand power wrapped in tradition and cruelty disguised as order. The Byakugan was praised as divine sight, yet the clan wielded it like a leash. Hinata bore that weight silently. He respected that more than raw talent. Ino Yamanaka, on the other hand, was noise. Sharp tongue, sharper eyes, always watching, always listening. Naruto clocked her as dangerous in a different way. Not on the battlefield, perhaps, but in rooms where secrets died. She laughed loudly, gossiped freely, yet never crossed lines that mattered. Clan discipline ran deep in her. Sakura Haruno was disappointing. Smart on paper, adequate in drills, emotionally reckless. Naruto had learned quickly to stop wasting energy on her approval. The first time she called him useless, something inside him had cooled permanently. He didn't hate her. He simply stopped caring. That, he had learned, was far more effective. Hey, Sasuke. Naruto's grin was lazy. Practiced. Hey. Morning, Naruto, Shikamaru drawled. Morning, Choji added through a mouthful of chips. Naruto waved. Morning, guys. Then, quietly, Sasuke. Walk with me. They moved to the side, away from the chatter. Naruto didn't waste time. When we graduate, he said, teams get assigned based on performance. Sasuke frowned. Yeah. So, I want us together. Sasuke smirked. Obviously, that's the problem. Naruto explained calmly. Too calmly. How rankings worked. How balance mattered more than strength. How clans interfered when it suited them. Sasuke's expression darkened as understanding settled in. So one of us takes the fall, he said slowly. I already have, Naruto replied. Sasuke turned sharply. No. Naruto raised a hand. Don't. Silence stretched. I promised I'd help you make your father proud, Naruto continued. That doesn't happen if you're dragged down by me. You shine. I disappear. That's not. I'm not asking, Naruto said, voice steady but thin. This isn't about pride. It's about positioning. Sasuke clenched his fists. Naruto leaned closer, lowering his voice. You have a clan. A name. People watching. I don't. Me being dead last changes nothing. You being rookie of the year changes everything. Sasuke swallowed. And the exams? He asked quietly. Naruto smiled, not happy. Calculating. Leave your written papers blank. I'll handle the rest. That made Sasuke look at him differently. Not as a rival, but as something else. Irika's voice snapped the room to attention moments later. Introductions. Rules. Structure. Naruto listened politely while already knowing every word. When Irika finished, Sasuke leaned over. We could skip this. Graduate now. Naruto shook his head. Too soon. No openings. And I can't play dead last if I move ahead of you. Sasuke exhaled slowly. You really thought this through. Naruto didn't answer. Because thinking it through meant accepting something Sasuke hadn't yet realized. Across the classroom, Hinata glanced at Naruto again. This time, Naruto didn't look away. Their eyes met. Something in her flinched, then steadied. Naruto felt it. A quiet strength. Potential. And far beneath the academy, deep under layers of seals and stone, something ancient stirred. Not amused. Not angry. Interested. The Nine-Tails chakra rippled once, unseen. So, it thought, the child chooses to hide. The whiskered boy laughed loudly at something Kiba said, playing his role perfectly. But behind that grin, Naruto Uzumaki was already walking a path no one else could see. Sasuke's fists tightened at his sides. But still, I want to graduate now, he said quietly. If I do, my dad would finally look at me the way he looks at Itachi. Naruto didn't laugh this time. You already are Genin level, he replied evenly. If you want to prove it here. Outshine everyone without leaving them behind. Tell Irika-sensei you want to start from the beginning. Say you want to grow with your friends. No one can argue with that. Not even your father. Sasuke hesitated. You really think staying is the better move? Naruto met his eyes. I wouldn't ask you to stay if it wasn't. Sasuke exhaled, shoulders relaxing. You're annoying, you know that? Naruto grinned. Yeah, believe it. I'm staying, Sasuke said firmly. I'm not graduating without you. Before Naruto could reply, a sharp clap echoed through the room. Enough talking, Irika called out. We'll begin introductions. Name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and your dream. One by one, students stood. When Naruto's turn came, he rose lazily, hands in his pockets. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, he said lightly. I like ramen, hanging out with friends, and training with Sasuke. I dislike arrogant people and waiting 3 minutes for ramen to cook. My hobbies are eating ramen, training, and reading. My dream is to become Hokage and surpass the fourth, believe it. A few snickers rippled through the class. Yeah right, someone scoffed. In your dreams, another muttered. Naruto didn't snap back. He didn't flinch. Believe what you want, he said calmly, and sat down. Then Sasuke stood. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, he said, voice steady and cold. I like training, spending time with my friends, and getting stronger. I dislike arrogant people. My dream is to become clan head and make my father proud. The room shifted. Eyes followed him as he sat, girls whispering, boys scowling. Sasuke leaned toward Naruto. Why are they staring at me like that? Naruto snorted quietly. Congratulations. You have a fan club. Sasuke grimaced. This is annoying. Welcome to the academy, Naruto replied. And no, I'm not jealous. Friends don't envy each other's success. Sasuke studied him for a moment, then nodded. So your speech, you did it on purpose. Dead last doesn't raise suspicion, Naruto said softly. Sasuke smirked. Then we're already winning. 3 hours later, lunch. Whispers crept across the room like poison. That's him. My mom said stay away from that boy. He's bad luck. Naruto stared down at his food, appetite gone. Each word cut deeper than the last. He'd heard it all before, but hearing it from kids his own age hurt differently. Why do they hate me? A chair scraped back violently. Shut up. The room froze. Sasuke stood, eyes burning. Don't talk about him. Don't look at him. You're disgusting. No one spoke after that. Sasuke turned back to Naruto, voice quieter but harder. How do you put up with this every day? If anyone says anything again, they answer to me. Before Naruto could respond, others gathered around them. Troublesome people, Shikamaru muttered. Ignore them. Kiba crossed his arms. Anyone messes with you, they mess with us. Choji nodded seriously. Hinata stood close, hands clasped, eyes gentle. Naruto, you're not bad. Even Ino sighed. People love rumors too much. Naruto felt the tightness in his chest loosen. He smiled. Real this time. Thanks, he said. All of you. One day, they'll respect me. And when that day comes, I'll be Hokage. They laughed together, sunlight spilling through the windows like a promise. That evening, Naruto slurped ramen alone at Ichiraku, staring up at the Hokage rock. For years, he thought, I can wait. But deep beneath the village, sealed hatred stirred uneasily. The Ninetales felt it. The boy wasn't breaking. He was enduring. And endurance, the fox knew, was far more dangerous than rage. 6 months later, mid-session, first year of the academy. 6 months was all it took for the lie to become routine. Naruto played the fool flawlessly. Sasuke played the prodigy just as well. The academy buzzed with shallow admiration. Sasuke's name whispered like a prayer, his face etched into every girl's imagination except one. Hinata Hugo watched quietly from the edges, eyes soft, never joining the crowd. Naruto noticed. He always noticed. When Fugaku Uchiha ordered Sasuke to skip ahead, Sasuke repeated Naruto's reasoning word for word. To his shock, his father didn't argue. Fugaku saw something else. Not just ambition, but choice. Itachi had never been allowed one. So Fugaku allowed Sasuke to stay. Naruto never learned that part. He only knew the plan held. Pranks escalated. Not childish ones, operations. Chakra-triggered traps. Time diversions. False trails that even seasoned shinobi followed straight into embarrassment. Yimby were targets now, including Itachi. Naruto took the blame every time. He always did. Sasuke noticed, and hated that he couldn't stop it. Naruto's Fuinjutsu advanced frighteningly fast. Symbols no longer felt like ink on paper. They felt like language. Medical texts followed. Self-treatment. Emergency stabilization. Sasuke called it boring. Kenjutsu, however, that was Sasuke's obsession. Naruto watched. Learned patterns. Understood spacing. Not passion. Preparation. Then came the night. Uchiha compound, late evening. The silence was wrong. Naruto felt it before Sasuke did. A pressure in the air, thick and metallic. No insects. No dogs. No voices. The street lamps were dark. Too dark. Sasuke slowed. Naruto, he whispered. Naruto's hand drifted toward a kunai. They moved forward together. Then Sasuke froze. Blood. Too much of it. Bodies lay scattered across the stone. Uchiha shinobi, elders, civilians. The smell hit next. Iron. Smoke. Death that had already begun to cool. Sasuke's breath broke. No, no, no. He ran. Naruto followed. Too late already. The Uchiha household. The door creaked open. Mother? Sasuke's voice shook. Father? Naruto stayed near the entrance, senses screaming. Someone is here. A shadow moved. Sasuke stepped inside, and the world collapsed. Fugaku and Mikoto lay still. Blood soaked the tatami. Sasuke screamed. Naruto turned and saw him. Itachi, standing calmly. Sharingan spinning slowly, mercilessly. Time fractured. Big brother? Sasuke sobbed. Who did this? A shuriken flashed. Blood splattered. Naruto moved, but stopped. His body refused. Jinjutsu. Tsukuyami, Itachi said softly. Inside the nightmare. Time ceased to exist. Sasuke watched the clan die again. And again. And again. 72 hours of screaming that lasted seconds. Naruto was dragged in too. Half seeing, half feeling. Not the full illusion, but enough. Enough to feel the intent. Not madness. Purpose. When it ended, Sasuke collapsed, broken. Naruto dropped to one knee, teeth clenched, seals burning beneath his skin. Itachi looked down at them. To gain power, he said, emotionless, you must kill your closest friend. His gaze shifted just slightly. To Naruto. Sasuke followed it. No, Sasuke whispered. Itachi stepped back into the darkness. Leaving ash. Leaving ruin. Leaving hate. Sasuke screamed into the empty street. Naruto stood there, fists shaking. For the first time in his life, he understood hatred. And deep below Konoha, something vast and ancient laughed. The seal trembled. Yes, the nine tails purred. Now you understand, brat. Naruto didn't answer. His eyes were locked on Sasuke, on the promise that had just been forced upon them both. Kill your best friend. And somewhere in the darkness, Naruto Uzumaki swore that fate would break before he did. Flashback. Did you hear? A low voice murmured in the shadows. About Shursui Uchiha. Throwing himself into the river? Another voice replied, quieter. Strange, isn't it? You and Shursui were the only ones absent from the assembly. A pause. You admired him. Almost like an older brother. Hidden behind cold steel and deeper silence. Itachi listened. Expression unchanged. End of flashback. Sasuke's breath hitched. You're saying, his voice cracked. You're the one who. It was necessary, Itachi replied calmly. How else do you think I awakened these eyes? The world seemed to tilt. You killed Shursui? Sasuke whispered. I did. No hesitation. No regret. Itachi continued, almost conversational. Beneath the Naka shrine, under the seventh tatami mat from the right, there is a chamber. There lies the truth of our clan. The purpose of the Sharingan. Sasuke's mind reeled. Purpose? If you survive long enough, Itachi added, you may awaken what I possess now. That alone makes you worth keeping alive. He turned away, voice drifting back like a curse. Grow stronger. Hate me. One day, come find me, with the same eyes. The Mangekyo spun once more. Then, darkness. 3 seconds later, Sasuke screamed. A sound so raw it tore through Naruto's chest. Naruto had read countless scrolls. He knew the Sharingan's limits. Copying. Perception. Illusion. But this was something else entirely. When Itachi turned to leave, Naruto spoke, his voice shaking, but not with fear. What did you do to him? Itachi paused. I let him relive the slaughter. For days. Why should I care if he survives? Naruto's fists clenched. Anger, cold, focused. If you plan to kill him, Naruto said evenly, why leave him alive? Won't he become a threat later? Itachi looked back, eyes empty. Because right now he is worthless. Something snapped. Naruto stepped forward. Remember this, he said quietly. He won't kill you. Itachi raised an eyebrow. Naruto continued, voice hollow. He'll break you. Again and again. Until you beg for death. For the first time, something flickered behind Itachi's eyes. Then Sasuke moved. The fight was hopeless. Itachi dismantled them effortlessly. Fire. Steel. Precision. Naruto launched a jutsu midair. Too slow. Pain exploded. A kunai tore through his eye. He screamed, but stayed standing. Naruto. Sasuke shouted. I'm fine. Naruto lied through agony. Don't stop. They charged again. And fell again. This time harder. Weapons rained down. Sasuke made a choice. Time slowed. He threw himself over Naruto, intercepting steel with bare hands, body, will. A shuriken tore into his leg. Another struck Naruto's other eye. The world went dark. Completely. Naruto didn't scream. When Itachi vanished into the night, Sasuke chased him, only to hear one final truth. To gain these eyes, Itachi said, Sharingan blazing, you must kill your best friend. Sasuke shook with fury. I won't. I'll kill you without becoming a monster. Itachi was already gone. Sasuke turned back. Naruto lay bleeding. Blind. He lifted him without hesitation. Then the Hokage arrived. Orders snapped. Barriers raised. ENBU moved like shadows. Konoha Hospital, One day later, Sasuke woke to silence. White walls. Guards. Naruto, he croaked. The Hokage's face was heavy. He's alive. Sasuke saw him, bandaged still. Will he see again? The Hokage shook his head. Both eyes are destroyed. Sasuke clenched the sheets. Why won't anyone donate? The Hokage's silence was answer enough. Why do they hate him? Sasuke asked finally. That, the Hokage said softly, is not a burden you can carry yet. Naruto stirred. Old man, why does everything smell like medicine? The Hokage startled. Naruto, you're awake? Your chakra's annoying. Naruto replied faintly. Hard not to notice. Chakra's sensing already? The Hokage thought grimly. Can you tell me? The Hokage said carefully. How many people are in this room? Naruto was quiet. Then, 6, he answered. You. Sasuke. For Enbu. 1 near the ceiling beam. 2 by the door. 1 behind the curtain. The room froze. Naruto frowned. Why's everyone quiet? The Hokage closed his eyes. Blind. And yet, Naruto Uzumaki had begun to see more than ever before. And deep beneath Konoha, something ancient felt it. And waited. Naruto frowned slightly, trying to understand why the Hokage was testing him like this, but he did as asked. He let his awareness spread. Not sight. Something deeper. There are 8 people in this room, Naruto said calmly. Me. You. Sasuke. And 5 others. The room went deathly still. 4 are your regular Yenbyu, the ones who guard your office. Naruto continued, pointing his finger lazily toward the corner. 1 is the Yenbyu you sometimes assign to watch over me from a distance. He's sitting on the sofa. He's nervous. The Yenbyu stiffened. 2 are outside the door, Naruto went on. Sasuke is beside my bed, awake. You're standing near him. And the last 2 are behind you, using concealment jutsu. The Hokage's pipe nearly slipped from his fingers. This isn't sensory talent, he realized grimly. This is instinctual perception. Before he could speak, Naruto tilted his head. How's Sasuke? He asked quietly. Not physically. Mentally. Itachi said something about 72 hours. Sasuke swallowed. I'm okay, he said, though his voice betrayed him. His eyes trapped me in something called Tsukuyami. I watched the clan die, over and over. For 3 days. But it was only seconds here. Naruto clenched the blanket beneath his hands. I see. Then, forcing a grin, he added. Well, that explains the headache. The tension cracked. Naruto chuckled. Man, these bandages are annoying. I just said annoying. Damn it, Shikamaru, your way of talking is infectious. Even the Yenbyu relaxed. Naruto turned his head slightly. So, old man, how bad is it? The Hokage hesitated. You won't regain your sight. Both eyes are destroyed. But it's temporary, Sasuke interrupted. Naruto blinked. What? The Hokage turned sharply. Explain. My clan is gone, Sasuke said flatly. No one will object if Sharingan are transplanted. I want Naruto to have them. The room froze. I want to donate my father's eyes, Sasuke continued. The Hokage studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Is there anything else? Yes, Sasuke said immediately. Preserve my mother's eyes. My uncle's. Destroy the rest. And check if any are missing. Very well. When the Hokage left, Naruto turned towards Sasuke. Why? He asked softly. Because you're my friend, Sasuke replied. And because we'll hunt Itachi together. Sharingan will help you. Naruto shook his head. Your father's eyes belong to you. If you're giving me power, give me the strongest, or the oldest. Sasuke considered it, then nodded. Fine, but I'll still implant my father's eyes first. After that, you choose. Naka Shrine. Naruto guessed. Sasuke nodded. Clan secrets. Only awakened Sharingan can open it. You sure you want to take me there? Your family, Sasuke said simply. The only one I have. Naruto scoffed. Family I get. But why little brother? I'm a month older. Oh, come on. Sasuke laughed for the first time since the massacre. The next day, Uchiha compound. They went straight to the underground shrine. Seals. Stone. Silence. Sasuke activated his Sharingan, opening the chamber. Naruto copied the hand seals instinctively, his newly transplanted eyes still burning. Shelves lined the walls, scrolls, histories, truths never meant for outsiders. Sasuke retrieved 2 scrolls. One holds my family's eyes, he explained. This one clan heads. Prodigies. When it opened, glass jars floated in sealing fluid. I stared back. Ancient, powerful. Naruto hesitated, then chose. One jar bore a name, Izuna Uchiha. He closed his eyes and implanted them himself, hands steady, medical chakra precise. When he finished, he returned Fugaka's eyes to Sasuke. Then, Naruto collapsed. When he awoke, Sasuke was staring at him like he'd seen a ghost. What? Naruto muttered. Did I die? Your eyes, Sasuke whispered. They're normal. Naruto frowned. But non-Uchiha can't deactivate Sharingan. Try channeling chakra. Naruto did. Red flared. 3 tomo spun into place. Sasuke staggered back. You have a fully matured Sharingan, he breathed. Already. Naruto went silent. This shouldn't be possible, he murmured. We need to talk to the old man. Far beneath them, something ancient shifted in its cage. Impossible, the Ninetales thought, amused. And yet, inevitable. Old man, Naruto said, standing straight. You have to see this to believe it. He focused. The crimson glow vanished. 3 tomo faded like dying embers, leaving his eyes normal. The room froze. Yimbiyu shifted. One nearly broke concealment. The Hokage stared as if Naruto had just rewritten a law of nature. Silence stretched, heavy, dangerous. Finally, the Hokage exhaled. Everything discussed here is now an S-rank secret, he said sharply. Not a word leaves this room unless Naruto decides otherwise. Understood. Every presence acknowledged at once. The Hokage turned back to the boys. Now explain. From the beginning. They did. The transplant. The deactivation. The reactivation. The impossibility of it. When they finished, the Hokage leaned back, eyes dark with thought. This suggests only one outcome, he said slowly. The Sharingan adapted to Naruto's body instead of rejecting it. His chakra didn't submit, it integrated. Naruto frowned. You keep saying that word. Uzumaki. Like it's important. The Hokage studied him carefully. It is. He stood and moved toward the window, voice heavy with memory. The Uzumaki were a clan, he said. Feared. Brilliant. Seal masters beyond compare. Distant relatives of the Senju, but never truly bound to Konoha. Allies, never citizens. Naruto listened, heart pounding. The spiral you see on flak jackets? The Hokage continued. That's not decoration. It's a symbol of respect. Gratitude. Without Uzumaki seals, Konoha would not have survived 3 great wars. Sasuke's eyes widened slightly. They were wiped out. The Hokage went on. Hunted by multiple villages who feared their power. By the time help arrived, it was already over. Naruto swallowed. My mother? The Hokage's gaze sharpened. That knowledge remained sealed, he said firmly. Genin, 2 truths. Chunin, 2 more. Jonin, the rest. Sasuke scoffed quietly. You're living inside secrets. The Hokage nodded. Because secrets are the only thing keeping him alive. Naruto clenched his fists, but nodded. We understand. Naka Shrine, 1 month later. Stone. Silence. Truth buried beneath generations. They returned not for eyes, but for answers. Scrolls spoke of perception beyond sight. Of chakra vision. Of illusion layered over reality so perfectly that even memory could be rewritten. Naruto absorbed it all, but differently. Where Sasuke memorized techniques, Naruto felt patterns. Intent. Cost. And one thing became clear. The Sharingan wasn't just an eye. It was a mirror. When the scrolls spoke of forbidden techniques, ones that rewrote fate itself, Naruto stopped reading. These, he said quietly, are wrong. Sasuke looked at him. Their power. Their escape, Naruto replied. An escape always has a price. They left the shrine uneasy. That night, Naruto sat alone in his apartment. He deactivated his Sharingan. Activated it again. Perfect control. Too perfect. Deep inside him, something stirred. Not mocking, not laughing. Watching. For the first time since the massacre, the Nine Tails did not speak. It simply observed. And far away, beyond borders and shadows, someone else felt it too. A ripple. A distortion. A boy who should not exist. Now carrying eyes that remembered destiny. And somewhere in the darkness, a smile formed. They closed the final scroll together. Silence settled in the shrine. Not heavy, not tense. Thoughtful. Naruto leaned back against the cold stone, arms folded. So, the Sharingan drinks chakra, but not enough to matter for you. For me, it should drain me dry. Sasuke nodded. Yet it doesn't. That means one thing, Naruto said quietly. It's not treating me like an outsider. The realization hung between them. The Sharingan was never just an eye. It was a response, an echo of emotion given form. Love twisted into loss. Bonds sharpened into blades. The curse didn't create power, it unlocked it. Naruto's gaze drifted to the shelves. If hatred fuels it, then control is the real battle. Sasuke didn't argue. They trained harder after that. Fire jutsu layered with wind until flames screamed. Jinjutsu drills until reality blurred at the edges. Nights blurred into mornings inside the Uchiha house. Exhaustion traded for progress. Sasuke chased answers about Mangekyo. Naruto chased understanding, what power demanded, and what it cost. They learned forbidden names without speaking them aloud. Izanagi. Izanami. Fate rewritten. Destiny corrected. Eyes sacrificed. Naruto closed one scroll slowly. These techniques exist to stop people like Itachi. Sasuke's jaw tightened. Or to become him. They agreed on one thing. Neither would walk that path lightly. A month later, the village lay quiet beneath a star-filled sky. They sat on the roof, legs dangling, the Hokage rock watching over them like silent judges. Sasuke spoke first. From the first day you approached me, you never felt younger than me. Naruto glanced sideways. Careful, you're about to get sentimental. Sasuke ignored him. You wore a mask. Loud. Careless. But the things you read, the way you thought, it didn't match the dead last. Naruto looked away. You trusted me, Sasuke continued. Dropped the act. Showed me things you didn't know anyone. He placed a fist against his chest. I used to think strength came from vengeance. From proving something to the dead. Naruto listened without interrupting. You taught me it comes from protecting the living, Sasuke said. From choosing Konoha over my clan's pride. From the will of fire. He turned fully toward Naruto. You're my best friend. My family. Better than the brother I lost. Naruto stared, then smirked. Wow, that was long. Sasuke flushed. Don't ruin this. Too late, Naruto laughed. If the fan club hears that, they'll riot. Sasuke groaned. Then, surprisingly, laughed too. They fell into silence, stars reflecting faintly in eyes that had seen too much. Naruto broke it softly. No matter what path you choose, I'll walk it with you. Sasuke nodded. And if I ever lose myself, I'll drag you back, Naruto said simply. They sat there, two boys carrying legacies they never asked for. Far below them, deep within Konoha, seals shifted, not breaking, but listening. And somewhere far away, beneath a different sky, a man with blood-red eyes paused mid-step. For just a moment, he felt watched. The flashback ended with the sound of metal slamming shut. A dumpster lid. Naruto remembered the smell first, rotting food, rust, damp paper. Then the pain came back in waves, delayed by shock. Chakra pathways burned as if someone had poured acid into them. He hadn't blacked out immediately. That was the worst part. He remembered staring up at the narrow strip of sky between the lid and the edge of the container and thinking, so this is where trash goes. If Tucci and Iam hadn't pulled him out when they did, he wasn't sure how long he would have lasted. Not because of the injuries, because of the words. Present, Ichiraku Ramen. Naruto's fists were clenched so tightly that his knuckles had gone white. Iam watched him with worry written all over her face. Naruto, that wasn't just bullying. That was the Hyuga main family. If you provoke them. I know, Naruto said quietly. That scared her more than if he had shouted. They didn't just hit me, he continued, eyes lowered. They didn't just call me names. They decided I wasn't human enough to deserve a street, a wall, even the ground. Tucci swallowed hard. Naruto looked up, blue eyes sharp, focused, nothing childish left in them. I'm not doing this because I'm angry anymore. I'm doing this because if I let it go, it means they were right. Iam reached out, hesitating before placing her hand on his shoulder. Just promise you won't hurt anyone. Naruto nodded. I won't. This is a prank. Nothing permanent. That was technically true. Later that night, rooftops of Konoha. Sasuke crouched beside Naruto on a tiled roof overlooking the Hyuga district. The moonlight reflected faintly off-white walls and pristine gardens. This better be good, Sasuke muttered. You've been planning this for weeks. Naruto exhaled slowly. Do you remember what you told me after the massacre? Sasuke stiffened slightly. Which part? That hatred doesn't get to decide who we are. Naruto activated his Sharingan for just a moment, then shut it off again. This isn't hatred, he said. It's correction. Sasuke studied him carefully. You're sure? Naruto nodded. I won't cross that line. Not like them. Not like Itachi. Sasuke was silent for a long moment, then nodded. Tell me the plan. Naruto's mouth twitched upward. Not a grin. Something colder. The Hyuga believe they see everything, he said. Tonight, I'm going to teach them what blind spots are. Hyuga compound, midnight. The compound was silent. Perfectly ordered. Guard patrols moved on predictable routes. Predictable because Naruto had spent weeks mapping them. Few ninjutsu tags activated silently, bending sound instead of sealing chakra. Gravity seals adjusted pressure by grams, not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to throw balance off at critical moments. Sasuke disabled perimeter sensors with copied hand seals, his Sharingan reading the chakra pulses like an open book. Naruto slipped past the first courtyard unseen. Inside the main hall, he placed the final seal. Then he waited. 1 hour later, a scream shattered the night. Not pain. Panic. Byakugan activated across the compound, dozens of pale eyes glowing in unison. And seeing nothing. Hallways twisted back on themselves. Doors led nowhere. Courtyards folded inward like mirrors facing mirrors. Every Hyuga who activated their Byakugan saw contradictions. Chakra pathways looping, empty spaces filled, allies appearing where walls should be. Jinjutsu layered over seals, layered over terrain manipulation. Not an attack. A lesson. At the center of the illusion, 3 men stood frozen, unable to move, unable to speak. Their own chakra points locked, not damaged. Naruto stepped into view. You said I was trash, he said calmly. That trash belongs in garbage. His eyes met theirs. You were wrong about one thing, Naruto continued. Garbage doesn't talk back. He deactivated everything at once. The illusion collapsed. The compound returned to normal. No injuries. No deaths. No proof. Just fear. Naruto vanished before anyone could react. The next morning, Hokage Tower. The third Hokage listened without interruption. When Naruto finished, the room was silent. You crossed a dangerous line, the Hokage said at last. Naruto met his gaze. I stopped before it became irreversible. The Hokage studied him for a long time. You made your point. Naruto bowed his head slightly. I won't do it again. The Hokage nodded. See that you don't. As Naruto turned to leave, the old man spoke again. You endured something no child should have, he said quietly. But remember this. If you let the world harden you completely, then they win in the end. Naruto paused at the door. I know, he replied. That's why I'm still aiming to protect it. That night, Sasuke found Naruto on the Hokage rock, staring out over the village. They'll never forget this, Sasuke said. Naruto nodded. Good. Sasuke smirked faintly. You scared the Hyuga. Naruto shook his head. No. I reminded them. They sat in silence. Deep beneath Konoha, the nine-tails stirred, but did not laugh. For the first time, it felt something unfamiliar. Respect. And far away, in the shadows of another land, a man with Mangekyo eyes opened them slowly. Interesting, Itachi Uchiha murmured. Because the boy he had tried to shape with hatred was choosing something far more dangerous. Control. I can't let that go so easily, Iam, Naruto said, his voice steady, too steady. Iam's hands tightened in her apron. Naruto, what are you planning? For a heartbeat, he was serious. Then a familiar, fox-like grin curved his mouth. Better if you don't know. Just open early tomorrow. I'll need breakfast when I'm done, and you might get a laugh too. Before she could argue, Naruto slipped out into the night, a black pack resting against his shoulder. Konoha had known pranksters before, but Uzumaki Naruto had turned mischief into an art. He moved like rumor and vanished like smoke. Chunin swore they'd had him cornered. Jonin admitted, quietly, that he was hard to pin down. Yambiyu could track him, but never quite catch him. Whether it was perfect timing, impossible routes through the city, or a knack for becoming something else entirely, Naruto always found a way out. Tonight, though, wasn't about fame. Tonight was about precision. The Hyuga clan stood at the center of power and pride, guarded by the belief that their eyes saw all. Naruto respected strength, but not cruelty disguised as tradition. He crouched at the edge of the compound, night wrapping him in shadow, and checked his plan one last time. For structures, 2 residential wings, a central hall, service buildings to the rear, open gardens between them, beautiful, symmetrical, predictable. Too predictable, Naruto murmured. He adjusted his gear, dark clothing that swallowed light, bandages hiding the marks on his face, hair fully concealed. He took a breath, letting his senses expand, not sight, but awareness. Then he moved. The outer wall was easy. The inner patrols were lazier than he'd expected. Pride made people careless. Naruto slipped through shadows and silence, pausing whenever instinct warned him. More than once, a passing guard came close enough to hear his own breathing, only to find nothing out of place when he looked again. The compound was vast, almost maze-like, but Naruto adapted. He marked routes, noted rhythms, adjusted timing. Hours passed, and then he reached a room that made him stop. A familiar presence. Hinata. Naruto froze, not out of fear, but respect. He recognized her chakra instantly. Calm, gentle, steady. No, he whispered to himself. Whatever he was doing tonight, it wasn't meant for her. Hinata had never turned away, never spat words, never treated him like something less than human. Naruto quietly withdrew, sealing the door behind him exactly as it had been. Sleep well, he thought. You don't deserve this. The rest went quickly. Naruto finished his work without touching anything that didn't need to be touched. Seals were placed with care, non-destructive, precise, designed to expose arrogance rather than harm anyone. Then he was gone. Morning, Hyuga compound. The sun rose on confusion. Doors opened into courtyards that led back inside. Hallways ended where walls should not exist. Servants found themselves walking in circles. Guards activated their Byakugan and frowned. Everything was there, and yet not. No damage, no injuries, no intrusions. Just a single message burned into the compound's perfect order. Seeing is not understanding. By noon, the seals faded. By evening, the Hyuga elders were furious, and Naruto Uzumaki was sitting at Ichiraku, slurping ramen like nothing in the world had changed. Iam watched him carefully. You look satisfied. Naruto smiled. Breakfast was great. She hesitated, then laughed softly. You're impossible. Naruto glanced toward the village, eyes thoughtful. No, he said quietly. I'm learning. High above, on a rooftop bathed in early light, Sasuke watched the compound with narrowed eyes. You didn't cross the line, he said. Naruto shook his head. I just showed them where it was. Sasuke nodded once. Deep beneath Konoha, something ancient stirred, but did not rage. For the first time, it understood. This boy did not seek chaos. He sought balance. And that made him far more dangerous than any prankster had ever been. Konoha woke up screaming. Cream-colored jackets fluttered from rooftops like surrender flags. Bandages, socks, undershirts, and items that absolutely should not be in public view swayed gently from tree branches, signposts, and even the Hokage monument's finger. The Hyuga compound stood stripped of dignity. And at the center of the storm, Naruto Uzumaki slurped ramen. Ichiraku buzzed with disbelief as Tsuchi laughed loud enough to shake the counter. I still can't believe you pulled it off, kid. Ayam clapped her hands, eyes shining. They're going to be talking about this prank for years, Naruto. Naruto leaned back, exhausted but satisfied, orange jacket hanging open, dark clothes beneath still carrying the scent of night air. Heh, what else would you expect from the future Hokage? Then his grin faded, just a little. This wasn't just a joke, he said quietly. Tsuchi paused mid-pour. What do you mean? Naruto twirled his chopsticks thoughtfully. To normal people, it's funny. To shinobi? It's terrifying. Ayam frowned. How? Naruto met her eyes. If I can enter every room of the Hyuga compound, unnoticed, while they're awake, what's stopping someone from doing it while they're asleep? The shop went silent. A few early customers stiffened. Naruto continued calmly, noodles dangling from his mouth. If I wanted to kill them, this wouldn't be a prank. It would be a massacre. The word hung there. More than one person swallowed hard. Before anyone could respond. I found him. The shout exploded outside. Naruto peeked out the curtain and froze. 2 Hyuga guards. 3 Chunin. 1 furious Hyuga Hayashi. Naruto smiled weakly. Hi guys. Then, bye guys. The chase tore through Konoha like a storm. Get back here, brat. You've gone too far. Demon, stop running. Naruto vaulted rooftops, laughter mixing with breathless exertion. You're all just jealous you don't have the guts to do what I do. You'll answer to the Hokage. Surrender now, and your punishment will be lighter. Yeah, right, Naruto thought, flipping over a water tower. By 8 o'clock, they were still nowhere close. How is he still moving? One Chunin gasped. This kid's stamina is insane. We should have stayed together. Naruto crouched on a high balcony, chest heaving. Damn it. Hyuga, don't give you time to breathe. His eyes darted toward the academy. Exams in an hour. He slipped into the shadows and ran straight into hell. Naruto Uzumaki. He spun. 9 Hyuga guards. 6 Chunin. 2 Yinbyu. A mob of angry villagers. And at least 15 Hyuga women radiating murderous intent. Nope. Naruto shrieked, vanishing. What followed became legend. Hinge after hinge. Substitution midair. Deadened feints. Camouflage seals. And his greatest shame. Jutsu. I can't believe I'm using this to survive. He groaned internally while sprinting. By 9, Naruto finally burst around the corner near the academy gates, lungs on fire. I made it. Oh really, Naruto? The voice was calm. Familiar. Deadly. Naruto screamed, jumped 12 feet straight up, and spun midair. How do you always do that? Irika grabbed him by the collar, utterly unimpressed. Late. Covered in dust. Wanted by half the village, Irika sighed. You almost missed your exam. Before Naruto could argue, poof, they vanished. Yinbyu followed. Hokage Tower, shortly after. Naruto stood in the center of the room, arms crossed, defiant. Hyuga Hayashi glared murderously. The 3rd Hokage exhaled slowly. Explain, he said. Naruto didn't flinch. I proved a point. Hayashi snarled. You humiliated my clan. No, Naruto shot back. I showed your clan they're not untouchable. Silence. The Hokage studied Naruto for a long moment. You crossed a line, he said finally. Naruto met his gaze. I stopped before it became blood. Another pause. The Hokage closed his eyes. Detention. Severe. Naruto nodded. Worth it. Irika pinched the bridge of his nose. Outside, whispers spread. Fear. Respect. And something new. That night, Sasuke sat beside Naruto on the academy roof. You really scared them, Sasuke said. Naruto stared at the village lights. Good. Sasuke smirked faintly. You're going to make enemies. Naruto smiled, but it wasn't playful. I already had them. Deep beneath Konoha, the seal stirred. The Ninetales did not laugh. For the first time, it understood the danger, not of Naruto's power, but of his will. The room was silent. Not the bored, half-asleep silence Irika usually had to shout through, but the kind that pressed against the ears, thick with disbelief. Naruto scratched the back of his head lazily, chains gone, chakra finally flowing normally again. I mean, yeah, that's it. That's it. Irika repeated, incredulous. Naruto shrugged. They rely too much on their eyes. Everyone does. When people think they can see everything, they stop thinking. No one laughed. No one mocked him. For the first time since he'd entered the academy, Naruto had the room's full, undivided attention, not as a joke, not as a nuisance, but as a shinobi. You're saying, Irika said slowly, that you exploited their overconfidence. Naruto nodded. Security isn't about power. It's about habits. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed slightly. Troublesome, but terrifying. Shino adjusted his glasses. A flaw in reliance-based perception. Kiba crossed his arms, suddenly uneasy. TCH, remind me not to underestimate him again. Ino stared openly now, interest no longer hidden. He planned all of that alone? Sakura scoffed, but there was less venom in it than before. TCH. Still stupid. Irika turned sharply. Enough. That shut her up. Naruto, Irika said, voice firm. You'll stay after class. You still have an exam to take. Naruto grinned. Wouldn't miss it. At that moment, Hinata, still pale from earlier, slowly regained consciousness at her desk. Her Byakugan flickered for half a second out of reflex, and she froze. Her gaze landed on Naruto. Not mocking, not angry, relieved. Their eyes met. Naruto blinked, confused, then offered a small, sheepish smile. Hinata's face went crimson instantly, steam practically rising as she looked down at her desk. Irika clapped his hands sharply. All right, enough distractions. Written exam first. No talking. Papers were passed out. Naruto stared at the test and sighed. Here we go again. He deliberately slowed his hand. Missed obvious answers. Left some questions half-finished. Just enough. Across the room, Sasuke glanced sideways, watching Naruto carefully. Still hiding, he realized. Even now. But Sasuke also noticed something else. No one was laughing anymore. They were watching Naruto. Hokage office, later that day. The third Hokage exhaled a long stream of smoke, eyes fixed on the report in front of him. Infiltrated a noble clan compound. Evaded ANBU. Demonstrated advanced Fuinjutsu, stealth, and psychological warfare, he read aloud. And then arrived for his academy exam late. Irika stood stiffly. He didn't harm anyone. I know. The Hokage replied quietly. That's what worries me. Naruto stood straight, hands behind his head, face calm. You embarrassed the Hyuga, the Hokage continued. You frightened the village. Naruto met his gaze. I protected it. Silence. The Hokage studied him for a long time, long enough that even Naruto felt uncomfortable. You're right, the old man finally said. But methods like that attract attention. Dangerous attention. Naruto nodded. I know. You will be punished, the Hokage said. Detention. Extra duties. And you will formally apologize to the village, not the Hyuga. Naruto blinked. The village? You reminded them that security matters, the Hokage said. That lesson should not be buried under pride. Naruto smiled faintly. Yes, old man. The Hokage's gaze softened just a fraction. Go. Rest. Tomorrow, you train. Naruto turned to leave, then paused. Old man. Yes, Naruto. One day, Naruto said quietly, they won't call me a demon anymore. The Hokage smiled sadly. No, my boy. One day they'll call you something far more dangerous. Naruto grinned. Hokage. The old man laughed softly. Perhaps. That evening, as the sun dipped behind Hokage Rock, Sasuke found Naruto sitting alone on the academy roof. You scared them, Sasuke said. Naruto shrugged. Good. Sasuke sat beside him. Next time tag me. Naruto laughed. Maybe. Deep beneath Konoha, the seal pulsed once, slow, thoughtful. The Nine Tails did not sneer. It waited. Because the boy who had once been ignored was now being noticed. And that, more than hatred or fear, was how legends began. The crystal sphere glowed softly. Irika's classroom reflected within its depths. Around it stood the weight of Konoha, elders with lined faces, clan heads with unreadable expressions, elite jonin who had survived wars. And among them, Hyuga Hayashi, arms folded, eyes sharp. Interesting, murmured a red-eyed jonin. How does a child walk into the Hyuga compound and call it easy? The third Hokage didn't look away from the sphere. Let's listen. Answers come to those who wait. A ripple passed through the image, Hinata collapsing at her desk. Hayashi exhaled slowly. It would seem my daughter has fainted. I must address that soon. The elder's patience is not endless. A scar-jawed jonin slammed his fist into his palm. This is madness. You let the boy walk free and take an exam? The fox is testing us. First the Hyuga, next the village. We should end this now. The room went cold. In a blink, the third Hokage stood inches from the man, killing intent pouring off him like winter air. If you are a shinobi, the Hokage said quietly, who cannot tell the difference between a child and a monster, then you have no place wearing Konoha's symbol. The Hokage turned away. Leave your forehead protector on my desk. The man paled. Lord Hokage. Or, the Hokage added, voice calm as a grave. Take your time with Ibiki. The word ended the argument. The jonin removed his protector with shaking hands, laid it down, and left, hatred burning in his eyes. I'll get you, he swore silently. Demon. Hayashi broke the tension. Please. I wish to hear how a 12-year-old infiltrated my home. Kakashi's visible eye curved with interest above his book. Same. Irika's classroom. Irika rubbed his temples. Naruto. Last chance. How did you do it? Naruto shifted, suddenly smaller than he had moments ago. I don't think I should say. Irika frowned. Why? Naruto swallowed. Because it's one thing if I do it as a prank. It's another if everyone knows how. The room stilled. They're arrogant, Naruto continued quietly, but they're still Konoha shinobi. If a foreign ninja learned what I learned, people would die. The bare-masked Anbu tilted his head. So you do understand the gravity. Naruto nodded, eyes lowered. I never meant to expose them like that. I wanted them to feel what it's like to be helpless for once. Irika's anger drained away, replaced by something heavier. Hokage Tower. A low cough escaped the Hokage. It seems the boy understands consequences better than some adults. Hayashi's gaze hardened. Understanding does not fix my defenses. I must know how. Give Irika time, the Hokage said. Naruto craves acknowledgement. He will speak, eventually. A chain-smoking jonin exhaled. He's lonely. Hurt. Attention, especially positive attention, will loosen his tongue. Hayashi raised an eyebrow. Do you truly believe it is that simple? The Hokage closed his eyes. Naruto has lived his life being seen, but never understood, he said softly. Everything he does is a question he's asking the village. Am I more than what you think I am? The red-eyed jonin leaned forward. And if he learns what they truly think? The Hokage opened his eyes, the crystal's light reflecting in them. Then, he said quietly, I fear we may lose him. Back in the classroom, Naruto felt it then. A chill. Not from the room, but from outside it. A familiar sensation he'd learned to recognize the hard way. Killing intent. His smile never faltered. He leaned back in his chair, eyes half-lidded. Someone out there hates me enough to break rules, he thought calmly. Across the room, Sasuke felt it too, and looked straight at Naruto. Naruto met his gaze and gave a tiny, reassuring nod. Not today, but somewhere beyond the walls of the academy, a decision was being made. And whether Naruto Uzumaki liked it or not, he was no longer just a prankster. He was a problem. Iruka's classroom. The room settled, barely. Iruka took a breath, choosing his words carefully. Naruto, wouldn't it be better to expose flaws so they can be fixed? If a noble clan can be infiltrated this easily, that's a danger to the whole village. Naruto looked at the floor for a moment, jaw tight. At the back of the room, Hinata Hyuga stirred awake. Heart still racing from a dream she absolutely refused to analyze right now. Her Byakugan flickered instinctively, then shut off as she heard Naruto's voice. He really did it. Her cheeks warmed. And he was in my room. She shook her head quickly, forcing herself to focus. Naruto sighed. All right, but if I'm going to say it, get someone who actually matters to hear it. I don't want to repeat this. Smoke puffed. The temperature dropped. Hyuga Hayashi stood at the front of the room, hands folded into his sleeves, presence heavy and absolute. Please, Hayashi said coolly. Continue. I am most interested in how an academy student entered my home and my bedchamber, unnoticed. Hinata stiffened. Dad, please don't hurt him. Naruto blinked once, then grinned. Well, first, I was hoping not to see you until the hearing. Second, I don't appreciate being called lowly. Hayashi's eyebrow twitched. Why is that? Naruto pointed lazily toward the window. Because lowly people don't hang your underwear from the Hokage tower. The class leaned. Outside, fluttering proudly in the morning breeze, hung a string of cream-colored boxers. One pair had orange spots. The room exploded with laughter. Hayashi's face turned a shade Hinata had never seen before. Explain, Hayashi said, voice tight, anger barely restrained. Naruto's grin faded. And he told them. He spoke of the alley, of the shove, of the word demon, of being thrown away like garbage. The room fell silent. When Naruto finished, so yeah, after I woke up and my chakra came back, I planned my revenge. I mean, prank. Iruka froze. You recovered from 8 trigrams 64 palms in under an hour. Naruto blinked. Is that special? Several people inhaled sharply. Hayashi stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. That technique, Hayashi said slowly, cripples chakra networks. Recovery normally takes days, sometimes weeks. Hinata's hands clenched. They did that to him. I didn't know, Naruto replied honestly. It hurt, yeah, but I've had worse. Hayashi's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but calculation. If you had come to me, those men would have been punished. You did not need to humiliate my entire clan. Naruto frowned. Huh. It is forbidden, Hayashi said, voice cold, to use such jutsu in civilian areas. Their actions violated clan law, and possibly village law. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Oh, then he nodded. All right. After the hearing, I'll point them out. A beat. But sensei, Naruto added, glancing at the clock. It's almost 10. I still need to take my exam. Iruka jumped. Right? Lord Hayashi, I'm sorry, but you'll have to hear the rest tomorrow. Hayashi hesitated, then inclined his head. Very well. Tomorrow. Before leaving, his gaze flicked briefly to Naruto. Not hostile. Assessing. Then he was gone. Hokage's office. Kakashi leaned against the wall. Kid's dangerous. Hayashi didn't deny it. Yes. In a way Konoha has forgotten how to be. The third Hokage nodded. After the hearing, this becomes classified. Village security. As you wish, Hayashi said calmly. The Hokage sighed. You're all dismissed. And Kakashi, be late tomorrow, and I ban Ika Ika. Kakashi stiffened. Cruel and unusual punishment. Irika's classroom, exam begins. All right. Irika clapped loudly. Enough drama. Written exam. No talking. Papers slid across desks. Naruto stared at the test. Easy. He slowed his hand. Missed questions on purpose. Across the room, Sasuke watched quietly, understanding. Still hiding. But something had changed. When Naruto finished and stood to turn in his paper, the room watched him. Not laughing. Not sneering. Watching. As Naruto walked back to his seat, he felt it again. That cold, distant pressure. Someone was thinking about him. Someone dangerous. Far beyond the classroom. Naruto smiled faintly. Guess tomorrow's hearing won't be boring. Irika cleared his throat, restoring order with effort. All right, Naruto, take your seat. We're already behind schedule. Mizuki set the stopwatch down a little too sharply. You're lucky, Uzumaki. Any later, and you'd have missed the practical entirely. Naruto only shrugged, dropping back into his chair like nothing unusual had happened. The rest of the tests passed quickly. The obstacle course came next. Most students stumbled into obvious traps, tripped wires, or missed pressure plates entirely. Naruto, however, moved at a deliberate pace, slow enough to look cautious, sloppy enough to look average. He disarmed traps after triggering them, stepped into visible snares, and still crossed the finish line comfortably within time. Shikamaru noticed. He's pretending to struggle, troublesome genius. Then came Taijutsu. Naruto paired with Kiba. Kiba attacked aggressively, too aggressively. Naruto blocked late. Slipped once. Took a hit to the shoulder he absolutely didn't need to. Irika frowned. Then Kiba lunged again, and suddenly Naruto wasn't there. One step, one pivot, one palm to Kiba's chest. Not hard, but perfectly placed. Kiba flew backward and hit the mat. Silence. Naruto scratched his cheek. Oops. Irika exhaled slowly. Winner. Naruto. Sasuke watched closely. He's walking a knife edge, he thought. Just enough to pass. Never enough to shine. Finally, the Academy Jutsu. Transformation. Substitution. Clone. Naruto passed transformation easily. Solid, flawless, indistinguishable. Substitution followed. Smooth. Then came clone technique. Naruto formed the hand seals. The room leaned in. Puff. A twisted, half-formed clone collapsed on the floor. Mizuki smirked. Failure. Irika winced but nodded. Clone technique failed. Naruto sighed theatrically. Man figures. Sasuke clenched his fist. Liar. Hokage Tower, watching eyes. The crystal ball dimmed. Kakashi closed his book with a soft snap. That was intentional. Of course it was, the Hokage replied calmly. He controls chakra better than most genin. That clone failure was convenient. Kurenai folded her arms. He's suppressing himself too much. For now, the Hokage said. Childhood doesn't come twice. The council chamber, the following day. Naruto stood alone in the center of the room. No chains. No cuffs, just quiet confidence. He told the story again, clearly, without anger, without exaggeration. The alley, the assault, the dumpster, the prank. Hayashi spoke next. The fault lies with my clan, he said evenly. The offenders violated clan law. I withdraw all accusations. Murmurs spread. Several clan heads nodded. One elder tried to object, but his voice was drowned out. The decision was made. Naruto Uzumaki was cleared. No punishment. As Naruto turned to leave, the Hokage's voice stopped him. Remember this, Naruto. Naruto looked back. You walked into a noble clan's home and walked out unseen. The village now knows you're capable of more than jokes. Naruto smiled faintly. Good. Outside the chamber, Sasuke waited. You passed, Sasuke said. Naruto grinned. Barely. They walked side by side into the sunlight. Behind them, whispers followed. Not demon. Not brat. Something else. Something uncertain. And somewhere in the village, plans quietly began to change. The training yard was silent. Not the polite silence of spectators waiting for the next exchange, but the stunned, breathless stillness that followed something unexpected. Sasuke spat a small line of blood onto the dirt and slowly pushed himself upright. His eyes were sharp, focused, and burning. He baited me, Sasuke realized instantly. He made me think he was clumsy. Naruto stood a few steps away, relaxed, hands loose at his sides, grin still plastered on his face. But his eyes were sharp in a way most people missed. Round 1 was over, and Naruto had just reminded everyone of something very important. He was not the dead last. Luck, Ino shouted again. Yeah, Sasuke wasn't serious. Sakura added quickly. Kiba clenched his fists. No way. There's no way he did that on purpose. Hiruzen watched in silence, pipe forgotten. That wasn't luck, he thought. That was timing, balance, and prediction. Iruka recovered first. Match continues. Sasuke Naruto, focus. Sasuke wiped his mouth with his sleeve and straightened, eyes narrowing. He rolled his shoulders once, then shifted into a proper stance. Low, controlled, Uchiha Academy form refined by private training. Naruto tilted his head slightly, then, slowly, adjusted his footing. To trained eyes, it was subtle. To Sasuke, it was unmistakable. He just changed his center of gravity, Sasuke thought. He's serious now. Hinata's breath caught. His stance, it's different. Round 2, Naruto said lightly. Try not to underestimate me this time. Iruka raised his hand. Continue. Sasuke moved first, fast. A straight punch, followed by a low kick, chained cleanly. Naruto blocked the punch, stepped inside the kick, and redirected it with his shin. Their arms clashed, crack, and both slid back. Gasps rippled through the crowd. They're evenly matched, someone whispered. Sasuke pressed harder, launching a flurry of strikes meant to overwhelm. Naruto retreated just enough to make it look like he was barely keeping up, then slipped inside again, elbow grazing Sasuke's ribs. Not hard. Controlled. He's pulling his blows, Sasuke realized with irritation. Why? Naruto ducked under a back fist, spun, and swept Sasuke's legs. But Sasuke jumped, twisting midair to land cleanly. They separated, both breathing evenly, both unhurt, except for Sasuke's lip. The crowd was losing its mind. This isn't supposed to be happening, Mizuki muttered. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed. He's walking a tightrope, the Hokage thought. Showing just enough. Sasuke exhaled slowly. Then he smiled. A real smile. Sharp. Excited. So that's how it is, Sasuke said quietly. You've been lying to everyone. Naruto shrugged. Not lying. Just editing. Sasuke lunged again, faster this time. Naruto met him head-on. They exchanged blows too quick for the untrained eye to follow. Blocks, counters, feints. Naruto deliberately mistimed one dodge, and Sasuke's fist clipped his shoulder. Naruto stumbled back, exaggerated, and fell onto one knee. The crowd erupted. There. That's it. Sakura yelled. I told you. Ino added triumphantly. Sasuke froze. That hit shouldn't have landed. Naruto looked up, grinning sheepishly. Guess I slipped. Their eyes met. Sasuke understood. You idiot. He thought, equal parts annoyed and amused. You're throwing it. Iruka raised his hand. That's enough. The yard went quiet. Winner of this match, Iruka announced after a pause, Uchiha Sasuke. Cheers exploded from the girls. Naruto stood, dusting himself off. Man, almost had you. Sasuke walked past him and muttered under his breath. You're a terrible actor. Naruto smirked. You noticed. Hinata clasped her hands tightly to her chest. He lost, but he didn't feel defeated. He felt dangerous. Hiruzen smiled faintly, smoke curling upward. You're still hiding, he thought. But cracks are forming. And somewhere deep inside Naruto, behind the grin, behind the jokes, something stirred. Not rage, not hatred, but a quiet, burning resolve. Smoke exploded across the training yard. Sasuke shut his eyes on instinct. Idiot. Iruka's heart sank. Naruto. But when the smoke cleared, it wasn't what the crowd expected. Standing where Naruto had been was a dramatically exaggerated, obviously fake transformation, a deliberately over-the-top illusion, shimmering and unstable, more parody than reality. The figure flickered like a badly maintained hinge, wrapped in mist and cartoonishly censored chakra smoke that made it painfully obvious this was a joke, not a real person. The effect, however, was devastating. Several adult shinobi froze for half a second, and then dropped like sacks of potatoes. Thud, thump, nosebleeds, groans, stunned disbelief. Even the Hokage wobbled in his chair before catching himself, coughing violently into his sleeve. Irika's face went scarlet. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto dispelled the technique instantly, reappearing in his normal clothes, hands raised innocently. See? One move. Took out half the field. I told you, the yard was chaos. Chunin instructors stared at the unconscious men. Students were either laughing hysterically or staring in shock. Hiba had fallen backward, clutching his face. Choji blinked. Whoa. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome, but effective. Hinata's entire face had gone red as a tomato. She covered her eyes, far too late, heart pounding. And Naruto, why would you do that in front of everyone? Sasuke pinched the bridge of his nose. You're dead. Irika marched forward, grabbed Naruto by the collar, and dragged him 2 steps. That was not a ninjutsu demonstration. That was a psychological weapon. Naruto offered helpfully. Irika opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Hiruzen cleared his throat loudly, regaining control of the situation. Enough. The yard quieted immediately. The Hokage stood, eyes sharp but amused. Just a little. Uzumaki Naruto, Hiruzen said slowly, while I strongly disapprove of how you demonstrated it. Irika turned. Lord Hokage, the principle, Hiruzen continued calmly, is unfortunately valid. Murmurs spread. A non-lethal technique, the Hokage said, used to incapacitate multiple opponents instantly, without permanent harm, is still a form of battlefield control. Naruto grinned. Told ya. Irika groaned. Hiruzen raised a finger. However, this technique is banned from academy grounds, public demonstrations, and anywhere within 500 meters of me. Yes, sir. Naruto snapped instantly. The Hokage's gaze softened slightly as he looked over the students. Let this be a lesson. Power is not only fireballs and fists. Creativity, timing, and understanding human weakness are equally dangerous tools. His eyes lingered on Naruto for a heartbeat longer than necessary. Too dangerous, if left unchecked. Irika exhaled slowly. That concludes the ninjutsu portion. The students were dismissed shortly after. As the yard cleared, Sasuke walked up beside Naruto. You enjoy giving heart attacks, don't you? Naruto shrugged. Better than killing people. Sasuke smirked. Next time warn me. Hinata stood a short distance away, fingers pressed together, courage building painfully slowly. Naruto caught her looking and gave a small, genuine smile. Nothing teasing, nothing loud. She smiled back. Barely. Above them, the Hokage watched in silence. You walk a dangerous line, Naruto, he thought. But you're still choosing laughter over blood. For now. Hinata pressed her back gently against the tree trunk, heart pounding far harder than it ever did during training. She had seen it all. Not the jokes. Not the pranks. Not the loud, reckless Naruto everyone thought they knew. But this Naruto. The one who shattered a reinforced training post with a single kick. The one who calculated, restrained, and chose when to hold back. The one who laughed loudly so no one would hear how carefully he measured the world around him. He could have hurt Sakura, badly, Hinata realized. But he didn't. He always didn't. Naruto disappeared down the street toward Ichiraku, orange book in hand, grin wide, posture loose and carefree, once again wearing the mask everyone expected. Hinata clenched her fists lightly at her chest. You're not weak. She whispered to the empty space where he had been. You're not stupid, and you're not cruel. Her cheeks warmed. You're kind. Later that evening, Ichiraku ramen. Naruto slurped noisily, stretching his arms with a satisfied groan. Nothing beats ramen after a long day of almost becoming Hokage. Tucci chuckled. You caused enough trouble for one day, kid. I am smiled softly. But you did really well today, Naruto. Naruto paused mid-bite. Huh. He scratched his cheek. You really think so? Tucci nodded. Anyone can be strong. Not everyone knows when not to be. Naruto stared into his bowl for a second longer than usual. Heh, guess so. He laughed it off like always, but something inside him settled, quietly, firmly. Hyuga compound that night. Hinata sat on her bed, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the moonlight spilling through her window. Her room felt different, not because anything was missing, but because she knew now. Naruto had been here. He could have humiliated me, but he didn't. Her fingers brushed the edge of her blanket, face heating again. He protected me, even without knowing, she murmured. Resolve flickered in her pale eyes, gentle but unshakable. I won't just watch you anymore, Naruto, she promised softly. I'll become strong too, strong enough to stand beside you. Somewhere in Konoha, Hokage Tower. Hiruzen exhaled smoke slowly, eyes half-lidded as he stared out at the village lights. So much power, he murmured. So much restraint. He smiled faintly. The most dangerous kind of shinobi is one who chooses not to be. The will of fire burned quietly in the village that night, not in explosions or glory, but in choices.
That's all for now. If you enjoy them, please like, share, and do comment.